have been working so much this week. Excuse me, light, you're too bright. Get off of me. The last few days, especially, oh my goodness, so many hours. I filmed videos that ended up, I didn't record the audio, so I had to re-record the videos, and then there's another video that I really wanted to have a song playing at the end, and I don't play piano, and for copyright reasons it had to be a cover. I couldn't just take the song, so, which is understandable. So I had to learn a song on the piano, and I don't play piano, and I don't know that it's good. Well, I know it's not, but it's gonna have to be good enough. Anyway, it doesn't matter. I've been working a lot these last couple of days, which you would think would mean that I've not been reading, but it actually means the opposite, because it means that I have expended so much of myself that I desperately need rest time. So I've been aggressively reading in all the corners of my day, which means that Firestarter is now done. And I'm close to done with 2 other books. But to be fair, all of these books were started before this vlog, in the last vlog. So, you know, a little bit deceptive. Anyway, Firestarter is done. By the time you see this vlog, the review for Firestarter will already be up for the book-to-movie adaptation. So I'm specifically talking about how the movie did as an adaptation. Spoilers, not well. I had a lot of fun doing that video. But that video was really focused more on how the movie did as an adaptation. So just speaking of the book, on its own, I really enjoyed it. Like I've said many times, I have a mixed relationship with King. There's stuff he does that I adore, and there's stuff he does that I don't. So it's very wibbly wobbly up and down for him, but man, this book was excellent. It was engaging the whole way through. It was unique and interesting, and King's trademark terrible endings, this was not one of them. This was a really stellar end. I just don't really have that much to complain about. There were some scenes that did not age well. This was published in 1980, but other than that, this is a great book. So if you don't already know, I mean, I said it in the last video, but you've probably watched a few videos since then. So follows Andy and Charlie. They're on the run because Andy is a telepath and Charlie is a fire starter. She can start fires with her mind. And the reason they have these abilities is because Andy and his wife Vicky did some government testing. They were testing a drug, but all the information wasn't presented to them, and they developed telekinesis through that, and then they had a child, and this child is very powerful. So now the people that tested on them heard about Charlie and they want her, and so Charlie and Andy are on the run. They're being chased down by these people who would like to capture her and observe her, and they don't want that, obviously. Also, she's trying to learn to control her powers and to know what's appropriate to use them, and it's really good. King is such a slow writer, but his writing is so engaging that the slower pacing feels just like he's drawing you closer as opposed to feeling bored. The movie, I just felt bored. But it was really good. I enjoyed this a lot, and it's funny because I had basically given up on King. I've talked about this before, so apologies for repeating myself, but I've read about 8 of his books before this, and I loved one, I enjoyed a couple, and I didn't like several. And because of my mixed feelings about him and because of the mixed bag of experiences I've had with him, I just decided, you know, maybe just give up. And that was my plan, and then I saw the preview for the movie for Firestarter, and I was like, looks interesting, let's read the book, because I'm inconsistent. And the book was excellent, and the movie was a disappointment. But what that movie did for me is make me say, alright, I guess I'll keep trying King. I don't know, I'm frustrated at what a mixed bag he delivers to me, but when it's good, it's good. So, we'll see. We'll see. Salem's Lot is coming out in September. Maybe I'll read that book. It's about vampires, and I love me some creepy, non-sparkly vampires. So that's what I've finished so far. Like I said, I've been aggressively reading because I've been so busy and I just need rest, and that is my go-to rest. So I'm also almost done with Live Ship. I only have, I think, 50 pages left. I think they're going crazy, or Ship of Magic. So I'm really excited to talk to you about that, and I'm almost done with Percy Jackson 4, so I'll check in with you in a couple of days and I'll let you know how those 2 books are going. Why, hello there. I'm using the phone. Sorry, the quality is probably not as good because the vlogging camera wasn't set up and I don't know how. So, I read some books. Let's discuss. I ended up loving Ship of Magic. I don't know, what can I say about the ending? I've already spoken so much on so many things. The perspectives are coming together. Awesome. Well, it's not awesome, it's terrible, but it's awesome. Wintro, oh my boy, so proud of you, Wintro. Things are definitely heating up in a lot of the stuff that's going on. A lot of our individual characters' plights. Althea has some hope, Wintro has some willpower and some direction and knows what he's fighting for. Poor sweet Malta, she just doesn't know left from right, does she? Kyle is he still deserves to walk the plank. Push him off the ship right now. Vivacia is, or Vivica? I think it's pronounced Vivacia, the Live Ship. I'm amazingly attached to this sentient boat made of wizard wood. Man. Oh, right, and then there's Kenneth. Well, he's more interesting now that the book's done because of where we landed, but I'm just having a wonderful time. I don't know, I just didn't expect it. I did not expect to be as hooked as I am. I am buying book 2 immediately. I'm starting book 2 very, very soon. I'm completely and totally invested, and even though I expected to come out of an over 850 page book, and say, cool, glad I read it, on to the next one, on to the next story, something else. Instead, I'm like, okay, on to the next one in the series. I'm into it. I'm into a lot of really good series right now, man. Okay, I also finished book 4 in Percy Jackson. It was such a refreshing change of pace. I think I said this the first time I read book 4. It was such a refreshing change of pace because there's this overarching structure that's been used in the first 3 books, and while everything is different in each book, the general arc of the storyline has been really consistent, and it was starting to feel stale to me after book 3, even though I loved book 3. Actually, I think book 3 is my favorite so far that I've read. I think it's book 3, 4, 1, and then 2's at the bottom. But anyway, sorry. So the whole thing with the labyrinth completely changed everything. It changed the structure, and it was such a refreshing change. I feel like this was almost the book that had the most mythology to it, even though every book we're interacting with Greek gods and we're interacting with different creatures and things, but this is the book where we got to interact with sphinxes and with the double-headed man, where one tells you the truth and the other tells you a lie, or like they have different things that they're trying to convince you of, and like all these different myths that I'm familiar with, having loyally watched the David Bowie movie The Labyrinth over and over again my whole life. So many, not that the Sphinx is, it doesn't matter. So many things that I'm actually familiar with as someone who doesn't know mythology all that well, and it was so fun to see Rick's twist on these different myths, and the Sphinx that is supposed to give certain riddles, but those are tired and old, so she has a whole new method to use now, and it's just, oh, it's so fun. I'm really enjoying these books so much more than I thought I would. So I still have Blackflame, book 3 in the Cradle books series. I'm just like, I'm plugging along, man. All these books I have been reading, I had started before this vlog, and I'm just finishing each one, and it's so much fun. So I need to finish Blackflame as well, and I'm definitely going to be starting book 5, Percy Jackson. I'm so excited for it. I'm just having a great time. That's the check-in. I'm just having a great time. Okay, let's talk about some finished books and some started books. First of all, Blackflame. So I just finished writing some stuff in the Discord about my final thoughts on Blackflame, and I did pros and cons. So I'm just gonna do that for you too, because it's convenient for me to not think up new things to say. So Blackflame, I enjoyed it quite a bit. I'm still not completely sold on the series. It seems like people who love this series love it to an extreme that I'm not there, but I am enjoying it and I will continue on with it. So a couple of things that I liked and a couple of things that still aren't fully meshing with me. I think that with each new book, the characters are getting better. I think with each new book I'm getting more attached to them. I'm enjoying them more. I'm feeling like they're getting more fleshed out, and that was a big complaint for me in book 1, and then in book 2 I felt like we were getting a little bit better, and then now with book 3 I'm completely sold. Ethan is still my favorite, which I've recently learned it's Ethan? How are you gonna spell the name E-I-T-H-A-N and call it Ethan? His name's Ethan. So anyway, he's my favorite. But on that topic, I love that in this book we took, in our inner circle, Lyndon is our main character, and in his inner circle we took the most powerful, the strongest of the people that he interacts with regularly, that he feels like he's untouchable. And then in this book we saw his weaknesses and his failings, and we saw I don't know, he was a lot more human in this one, and he's still funny and he's still fun to be around and he's still wicked powerful, but he's also just a lot more human, and I really like that. And with that, really I'm enjoying every character. Yaren is perpetually amazing. Lyndon is, it's funny because he's been like this since book 1. He's this character type that he's not particularly gifted. He's not a natural. It's not like he learns there's magic of the world, or he's always known, but it's not like he gets an opportunity to use the magic of the world and then it's just like, oh my goodness, power-ups galore, and you know, he's just so gifted. Everybody wants to follow in his footsteps, which, you know, is fine, but I read that a lot. So it's nice to have like a true underdog, someone who actually is an underdog, and who actually just is not gifted in this, and in order for him to advance, he has to work like crazy, he has to be really cunning, he has to be really smart, and he's always looking for loopholes and hacks and ways around the normal way of doing things, because that's the only way he can advance. And that's a really nice perspective to read. It's just really refreshing. I'm not saying that's never in a book, but it is refreshing because it's not the norm, and I really like having a character like him, someone who's more cunning than he is skilled. I really like him a lot. Also this story in this book, there's so much expanding of the world and expanding of new creatures we're getting introduced to, which is maybe my favorite part of the book, actually. A couple of cons for me: it's still way too fast. I mean, these books are really, really short, which is fun, but it's so fast paced, and I'm the type of reader that I want to breathe. I want to stop and reflect, and there's a lot that these characters are going through, and sometimes I just want to stop and talk about it a little bit and take a second to mull over and unpack some things, and that's just not happening very much in this series, and I don't think that this is ever going to be that series for me, which is okay. It's not like I have to have that. It's just, you know, this isn't my preference. This kind of rapid pacing isn't really my preference. Also, this book was basically a training montage, just one big training montage, which I'm rarely on board for. Rage of Dragons is probably the only book that I can think of off the top of my head that was kind of that way, and I was into it, but I rarely am into a book that's this battle and training heavy. But I also think that's just the series, so, you know, it's just, it's not my taste, but it's not the end of the world. So some pros, some cons, some things that are working for me, some things that aren't working for me. I understand why people get so excited about it, especially if you love battle sequences, which I enjoy, but it doesn't make a book for me. So I'll definitely continue on to book 4. I've actually heard that book 4 is the weakest because it's boring, which actually makes me think, oh, maybe I'll love it because it'll maybe have some more downtime and some more reflection and stuff like that. So I will continue with the series. I also have read another volume of Spy Family. That's actually the only volume I've read this week. I've been really focused on trying to finish all these books that I've started and that I've just been, I don't know, creeping through. I've really not been moving. I've just been creeping through everything. So I'll talk to you about that in a minute, but first I want to tell you about the 2 books that I'm in the middle of. First of all, Percy Jackson, book 5. I've started it. I started it as soon as I finished book 4. I couldn't help it. I'm at the part where Percy just interacted with Achilles and just made a choice that will affect the rest of his life. And I'm just constantly surprised at how far Rick takes his characters. I'm so into it. I'm enjoying it so much. Good times. I'm also reading Son of the Storm, which this is actually the book that I talked about, I don't know if you remember, but I talked about in the last vlog that was the other book that I had started, and it was like, all right, that's enough. I've talked about enough books. I haven't read any more of this week because I was so focused on finishing books that I had started, and I'm only 100 pages into it, so yeah, there were a lot of books that I had made a lot of progress in. Doesn't matter. So I'm back to this now that I've closed all those books. I'm back into this, and I really don't have much to tell you about this so far. We follow Darrow, I think is how you say his name. Danso, sorry, I've been out of this book for a full week. We follow Danso, who he's a scholar, and he's very fascinated by what's outside the wall, but they don't talk about it, they don't look at it, they don't blah blah blah. So he is not really satisfied with the structure of his society and the hierarchy, and then an inciting incident happens. Someone shows up in his life that the idea would be to immediately capture this person, and Danso decides to help her instead, which kind of spirals out of amok, and he's now outside the walls. So I don't have a ton to say about this quite yet because, and there's other perspectives too, it's not just Danso's perspective, but he's, I think, the main perspective, and I just don't have a lot to say about it because it's really been 100 pages of setup. It's not, I mean, we've gotten the inciting incident, but I can't really tell you much about it because it's very, it's very dense. It's very readable, but it's very dense. And so as far as the hierarchy and as far as like every character that's introduced, this person has this rank, which means this in society, and it's just a lot to take in right at the beginning. So I'm kind of still getting my sea legs a little bit in this book. I'm still trying to wrap my head around all the different characters and all the different ways that all the different rankings they have and what that means against each other, because it's a lot. But I do think that at the point that I'm at, it's about to pick up plot-wise and less exposition-wise, because it has been pretty exposition heavy. So I'm looking forward to getting further into that. We're also taking a trip we got a cabin in the mountains. We're gonna do some hiking next week, so next reading vlog will be there, which I'm excited about. Okay, Spy Family. Timestamps if you don't want the spoilers. This has been my favorite volume so far. I think in the last vlog when I talked about Spy Family, I said that it's kind of like the same jokes being used over and over again with different context, and I'm not mad about it because it's hilarious and I'm having a great time and it just all feels great. But then everything changed. All of a sudden, we have a new character introduced, Mr. Bond. There's a whole new plot line going on with the dog. They meet the dog, and he has psychic abilities, and she follows him. And then there's these people. They have a bomb. And then Lloyd, the dog, sees the future that Lloyd is gonna die. Oh my goodness, all of a sudden we have like this intense plot, and not just like this very, you know, slow moving, chill vibes kind of plot. It's like really intense, and there's stakes, and I'm scared, and what are you doing? Everything changed, but in the best way. It was full of, I don't know, excitement and fun, and look at this panel. This is amazing. This is my favorite volume so far. I loved everything about it. I loved everything about it. Look at this panel. I love everything. So anyway, I don't know if it's gonna go back to its normal, just feel good, chill vibes pacing, which I was really into, or if it's gonna keep up with this wildness that I'm also really into, but either way, I'm thrilled. So last week I said I had a problem because of all the books that I was starting and not really finishing, just opening more books and more books and more books, and I said that this week I would focus up, and I did! I did start some more books, but I finished the books that I had been, seriously, like this book is ridiculously fast-paced and very, very short. I read it for like 3.5 weeks before I finished it. I was enjoying it. I just wasn't actually just is what it is. There's nothing wrong with reading that way. Obviously, I'm just being dramatic. Okay, still a huge stack. Some books I finished, some books I started. Chat with me in the comments if you feel like it. I post videos on Thursdays.